loves. Hello my loves. Welcome back to Zeke's Lunchbox. This video I've been filming since July. I was meant to post this video back in October/November when we were doing the Kickstarter campaign. It was like a behind the scenes video about the tarot deck, making the box and all the little elements for the box and the back of the tarot cards. After a couple of months and also after receiving these samples, things changed and some edits needed to be made to the deck and the back of the cards. We will get to that, and if you want to skip forward at any point, there are timestamps down below. But pretty much this video is really just for the people who've been following the tarot card deck for the last couple of years, people who purchased the Kickstarter, so you guys are well informed of the little changes and tweaks that are going to be happening to the deck. For anybody who is interested in art processes and all the thoughts behind it, problem solving that goes behind making art, there are a lot of failures, mistakes, things happen and things need to be changed and fixed. So that's what this video is all about. So before we head into it, make sure you subscribe and like the video, and without further ado, let's get into it. Hello everybody! We have finally gotten to a stage where we are designing the back of the tarot cards. We're also designing the box as well. I've been kind of designing them on and off, you know, throughout this whole project. I first illustrated or sketched the front of the tarot card box, I think in 2019, and then finally in 2020, towards the end of 2020, I was able to illustrate it, and that was one of the very first pieces that I did digitally. You know, because I was really prioritizing actually making the cards rather than the branding of it all. It's been really something that I've, you know, noodled around a little bit, and then I kind of, you know, moved on and I didn't really complete it because I really wanted to finish the cards as much as I could to really understand the aesthetics and really understand the branding of my tarot card deck. So that's a bit of context for you. Right now we're going to focus on the back of the cards. I've got two examples of tarot card decks here. The traditional Rider-Waite box here traditionally comes in like a yellow box, and I will have the traditional deck linked down below. The box that I have here is actually from our manufacturer, and they sent over a sample, and I'm just really, you know, wearing and tearing and seeing how this box sample is holding up. So far it's been fantastic. This one is the tattoo tarot deck. I think the gold foil on it is really good, and I think you know, seeing a more commercial side of a tarot card deck is really interesting. This one's quite widely available, but I will put this one linked down below as well. I just really liked the box design of this one and obviously the art as well. Here we have the back of the tarot cards. This is the Rider-Waite on the left, and this one's the tattoo tarot. As you can see, they're both abstract, very pattern-based, and also a very important element is that they can work in either orientation, so upright and reversed. It's very important to have cards work in either orientation, so when you are drawing the cards, you are unsure about which way the cards are facing because the orientation of the cards mean different things in a reading. The Rider-Waite one, I don't know if there's any historical significance to this tartan print. I find it just so dull and boring. And so let's just focus more on this one here. I want to make sure that obviously the back of my design works in either orientation. You can see a lot of back designs have a frame and then a center medallion. So having a composition that's based on the center is really important. And what I'm going to be focusing on with mine. Okay. So now you guys have a little bit more context. Let's go into what I've been designing. Now, my deck, I've been using this lunar moth logo throughout the whole deck. And I think, you know, that's going to have to continue to the back of the cards. I think it works because they're symmetrical. And also, what I haven't really explained to you guys is that the lunar moth is kind of like my surrogate, like this is kind of my avatar. So seeing this emblem everywhere, it's kind of like this lunar moth, aka me, the artist, guiding you and pretty much holding your hand throughout all of the tarot card completion. That is a prerequisite, and that has to be included into the deck. I've just sketched up some more ideas here. We'll get to those in a moment. But first, let me show you what I've sketched up. Okay, so this is one of the very first versions that I was playing around with. As you can see, I'm really trying to play around with the orientation of it and making sure that it works in either direction. So you will also know that if you've been following for a while, the branding of the tarot card deck is pink and the writing has often been white. With a lot of the cards, they have a white border around them and white writing, so I want that to continue over to the back of the card. I also want to keep the back of the card just line art, which isn't quite my specialty, so that's why I've been really having issues with doing the back of the tarot card. So this was one iteration. You can see the lunar moth here, and another thing, I'm trying to make the deck a lot more celestial, so trying to put a lot more moons and stars in there. It's been one of the biggest complaints in the tarot card project for the last couple of years. A lot of people don't think it's celestial enough, which is fair criticism. So, you know, I'm trying to put a lot more celestial elements into the branding. So this is one iteration. You can see here I've tried to put a moon cycle in there, and I also really like these tails all over throughout. And yeah, that was just one iteration that I'm playing around with. The problem with this one, however, is that it doesn't have a center medallion, and I think that's really what it's lacking. I feel like I need to start with whatever the centerpiece is and work my way outwards. So moving on, here's another iteration of that one. Because the card, you know, is going to be, this is what the card is in real life, the scale of it. I need to make sure that it's legible and clear and bold. So I'm trying to make the line work simple and bold and easily readable. In this one, I was trying to see if I wanted to do some more textured line art, but to me, it kind of felt like it didn't go with all the other artwork and all the other branding, so I abandoned that. Here, I feel like this is getting a lot closer. I really like these elements here. You know, they feel really pretty and organic, but also they could, you know, maybe read as an insect. Here I'm playing around with a different pattern in the wings just to really push that it is a moth, but that one was working for me as well, so I'll probably play around with that option. And then lastly, I played around with a different face, but I thought it was too much of a departure from the other moth, and I think we need to be a little bit more consistent in the branding, so having the face be the same throughout. That's as far as I've gone. Let's head over to the sketches. I'm going to just not overthink it, and I was brainstorming and I was like, you know what, let's just stick with an eye, like an all-seeing eye. I know they're very cliche, but they're cliche for a reason, and I think I can still make it my own. For me, this one's actually looking the most like an actual tarot card. This one has the butterflies in there as well. I've also added this curved frame just to mimic the other side of the tarot cards. And then here I'm playing around with another border option. So that is as far as I've gone so far. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all of these elements and go over to Computerland and let's sketch and experiment and make a bunch of versions, and then we'll figure out everything and go from there. Okay, so I've collated all the reference materials that I need. This is a vector illustration that I drew, you know, years ago for the branding of Zeke's Arcana. Yeah, I really like the face on this because for me it just feels very, very Asian. And yeah, I like being able to just inseminate a tiny little bit of Asian personality and Asian flair into the deck, without being aggressively Asian, you know? Just a little sprinkle. The final illustration will be vectorized, but for me it's just easier and quicker for me to just sketch it, and then I will vectorize it in Illustrator later on. I haven't really been successful in just using Illustrator, and I haven't really been successful in just using Clip Studio Paint. So I think a combination of the two will work well. As discussed previously, I've put in the other sketch that I did on the iPad Pro. So many drawing tools all coming together. But before I work on the moth, I'm gonna work on the center medallion. Here is the pink that I normally use. You can see on the side over here, I have some branding that I've done previously. These are my thank you cards for when I send out orders. And you can see here it's got the Luna moth on there as well. And I'm just trying to use the same pink throughout. I have to figure out exactly what that Pantone color is, so it's the same throughout the whole branding and all the physical prints. Interestingly enough, I've looked at a lot of tarot cards. Little side note. I've looked at a lot of tarot cards in the time span that I have been working on this project, and there are no tarot cards out there that are like aggressively this pink. So I feel like I've got a little corner of the market there for people who are happy to be aggressively pink. It's, you know, like a reclamation of femininity and reclaiming bimbo culture and reclaiming what's ours, rightfully ours as women. Okay, you guys, I've been messing around for maybe 2 hours, an hour and a half. I've got a couple of options, so let me walk you through a couple of them. Option 1, I just started off with the elements that I wanted to play with initially. So the centerpiece, which is the eye, and then use the 2 moths as like a framing device of sorts, and then just add light flares radiating from the center. Option 2, I played around with like a couple of frilly little elements that were a bit more organic. They kind of remind me of like firefly wings or like little tendrils on plants. I added those elements in and, you know, added a couple more little accessories here and there. That's what these elements are over here. I quite like how the whole eye looks like a bit of a fish. It's got more of a mermaid feel to it. So I'm really liking, you know, this center part here, but I'm really not liking this particular section. It's really difficult when you're making these because it's like, I like this part, but I don't like that part. And the more you play around, you're just trying to figure out all the elements that, you know, jigsaw together and work well. So at that point I was wanting to be a bit more destructive, so I had another iteration in between the last one I showed you and this one. This one I was really like starting to lose it because I'm like, maybe we can go more in a like insect leg route because, you know, I do a lot of insects and maybe that would work. So I was trying to figure out maybe some insect legs here and blow up the center eye. And then we have this other option that I played around with, which is more sharp, and I'm getting a weird like circus vibe from this one. So I wasn't quite vibing on that, and it just felt a little too like, it was getting more in like the tribal art design zone, and I wasn't vibing that. You think abstract work is super easy, but every culture does their own version of patterns, and some lean more towards like being tribal, some will lean towards being ethereal. Don't underestimate abstract work, it's so challenging. And then, you know, after that point I was getting really frustrated because I'm like, none of these are looking good. So I'm like, okay, what's my main goal? I want it to feel ethereal, celestial, but still have some buggy elements and creature elements to it. And I think it's really difficult because I'm not playing around with line weight or texture. So as soon as I started playing around with that, that's when I was like, ooh, I think we're on to something. I think for me, this is probably going to be the closest iteration I'm going to get with drawing. I think, you know, when we squeeze it down, it still has a bit of a tribal aesthetic to it. I think it's kind of impossible to not have that because it's symmetrical. I'm also using a lot of curvy organic lines, so that's just the way it naturally will gravitate. But I think this is looking pretty close so far to what I want it to look like. So yeah, I'm gonna pop this into Illustrator and play around and get back to you guys. Hello everyone! I have gotten up to the box stage once again. I've been working on the box art on and off for such a long time. It's been through so many different iterations and we're here once again doing yet another iteration of it. You know, all the others were kind of just mock-ups and just really seeing what it's going to look like, but now I've really figured out what I want, and I'm getting Rel, who is my partner, to help me because he's a graphic designer, and he's just got a much more keen eye when it comes to design stuff. I made this artwork in November 2020. It is now the 2nd of August 2021. About 9 months or so in between working on the box art. Now that I've played with digital for the last 9 months or so, I feel like my skills with digital painting have improved quite a bit. And I'm just gonna go back and refine a couple of parts here that I want clarified. If I turn on the black and white layer here, I'll show you there's a couple of areas that I want to improve. I just feel like the overall silhouette could be improved of everything. I feel like there's not enough contrast in a couple of areas. You know, I want to make sure that you can see this box from a couple of meters away and it's, you know, quite clear and easy to read. Once things get printed, you know, the details aren't as sharp and the colors are a little bit different, so I have to make sure that the design is really bold. So that's really the goal here. I'm just trying to refine a couple of things and make sure there's enough contrast in areas. So you can see in the girl's face, there's quite a lot of contrast there, and that's kind of my goal for the whole silhouette. Hello everyone. So I am currently in the process of finishing the tarot card box. We are initially just testing out the box and getting samples made. I'm not sure if I've explained that yet in this video, but right now I've decided to do a little bit more art, or like compile some other elements from other digital cards and combine them together for the edging of the box. So the box that we're getting made is similar to this one, so it's like a telescoping box, so it's got a top half and a bottom half. I have already finished designing this half of it. I haven't actually designed the inside, but I'm not sure if the sample box does that. But yeah, I've done the top half, but right now I want to do the bottom half, and I've already got like the writing on the side here, and I don't want to just repeat it again, and I don't like the idea of just having it completely blank. What I'm going to do is design a couple of little bits just for the side. A lot of the deck is already like pink with white outlines and not much actual art, just to give it a little bit more depth and a bit more texture, because the pink and white lines combination can be a little bit cold, especially for a box that's so ornate and has so much color and thought put into it. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. I will show you what I drew. I drew this months ago, probably, if not maybe over a year ago. I'll pop it up on screen. It's better for you guys. Drew this little banding stuff on the side, but ultimately I always knew it was going to be a placeholder for when I did a lot of the minor cards, and then I would be able to pull a lot of the elements from the minor cards and like create this symmetrical filigree floral design. So that's what we're going to do over on the Cintiq. I don't know, I'll talk you guys through the whole process because I have a vague idea of what I'm going to do, but it's very different once I'm actually in there. So let's go. Okay, so this is what we've got so far. There are parts of this that I really like and parts that I don't like. So let me take you through what I like and elements that I already have made, and then we can go from there. So first up, I really like this cute little drop that's in the middle here. It looks like a little flower bud. It feels very delicate and cute. As well as the center item here. This I've used, you know, plenty of times before in my artwork, and I already have that drawn for the front of the box, which I will pop up on screen. So I can just, you know, I can just use that illustration and then pop that in. Basically, I'm telling you that I like all of it except for the blue stuff on the side here. I feel like I can maybe do a bit better. I don't know, I'll figure it out. I think it just needs to be a little bit more, a bit softer maybe. I'd like for everything to be a lot heavier and dense in the center and then trickle out to be a little bit more wispy on the edges. So I'll have to play around with that and see. Do have some symmetrical items that I have drawn in the past for other cards that I really like, and I would like to reuse a few of them. I've got this dove, this red dove here that I really like how abstract or minimized this dove is. For me, it just feels very simple and neat, and I think it's just really pleasurable on the eye. So I might experiment with placing this in the center of the banding instead. And then I have another element. I have this cranky cat. I think putting a cranky cat like sends the wrong message. Not like it's a bad message, more just like it's not the journey that I want people to take when they open and look at the deck for the first time. I want it to be like, you know, like an old relic, but also futuristic at the same time, that you've discovered, and basically like treasure that you are picking up for the first time. So the word exquisite comes to mind. I want it to feel very exquisite and rich and, you know, like an old piece of jewelry that you find at the bottom of the ocean. Those are the elements. I'm gonna place them in, and then we'll check in. Hello. So look, it's been a while. As I am filming this, the deck sample has come through. It's past the Kickstarter. It's currently the 25th of November. Look, I am not in love with the back of the card. I know we just watched the whole process of me designing it, but now seeing it in person, I just don't think it suits the front cards all that much. Yes, this is an inaccurate sample because the final sample will have holographic foiling, so it won't be this stark, but I don't love it. I really feel like we could just do something better. I think this border around it is restrictive. I really more want it to be a bit more minimal, really focus on the light beams as much as possible. So I have drawn up some new options, starting over once again. Look, I was thinking maybe of doing like an eye bug thing. I was like toying with the idea of it. This to me just feels a bit more central. It's got, you know, the similar themes to this one where it's got a bug and an eye, but it's just, the moth is like destroying the flow of the light beams. I'm not like a line artist, you know, I'm somebody who is known for my rendered work. So I feel like we need like two little rendered colorful bugs or something in the middle, and then like holographic beams spurting throughout. This is what I've drawn up. Here's some more ideas. It was really hard to make something symmetrical and that would work both ways. That's really what I'm having the most challenge with. If you guys are new here as well, I also have a lot of problems with like my own branding. It's very easy for me to do branding for other companies and businesses, but for myself, I find it really tricky. But I do have a solution. I have drawn something up, so let's go check that out. Okay, this is what I have come up with. This is all the files for the tarot card box. What I've come up with is more a singular star in the middle with lights beaming out, and imagine all of this in holographic foil. And then what I'm going to do is also paint these two insects. I mean, really, realistically, I just have to paint one and then duplicate it down the bottom and make sure that everything's symmetrical so it works in either orientation. If I'm just comparing the two, I just feel like this feels more like it belongs in the tarot card deck than this does. To me, this feels like random. I'm not saying that this is bad. To me, this just feels, it's just random. And random isn't good, you know, you want it to be succinct. So the colors that I'm going to go for are going to be similar to this image over here, which we have seen me draw. There are some things that I want to change with this as well. So I really like this green against the pink. I think the two of them go really well. It feels very on brand for the tarot card deck. It's just that if I'm comparing this front cover artwork to the side artwork, feels like it just needs a little bit more. I'm not going to change all too much. I really just want to connect the flowers with the wings here. Maybe add some more like leaves or something. I just feel like it needs to be a slightly more organic, and I also don't like that these are pink. I don't think they go all too well. We'll see what I change them to. Maybe they just need more of a gradient behind there to separate them. I'm not too sure just yet. But for me, these flowers flowers feel disconnected to this emblem over here. So I'm gonna redraw this, and then that'll be my new graphic for the side. And then this little star in the middle here, I mean, first of all, it's way too low. This, the sample is like hella cheap, so the final box won't be this shiny paper. This middle emblem here, I feel like could be a little bit more, could be something else as well. Maybe I can just take the insect and put it here. That way, you know, it just feels like when you open it, it has a little bit more depth, some more like creatures and stuff. It's just a little bit more adorned. So really my ultimate lesson with this is just that like more art, the better. Alright, my loves, we've made it. Well done if you've watched it this far. I'm going to reveal the final tweaks and what I've settled on after all this time. It's been a long journey to get to this point. I've never made a tarot card deck or a product that requires so many pieces of artwork and original pieces that I need to make before in my entire life. So, you know, it's a massive learning curve, and I'm hoping by showing you guys the process and how long it takes to make these decisions and then seeing things in real life and how that changes everything, I'm really hoping that it helps you guys see how arduous this project can be, or projects can be in general. I think this video might be the most realistic in how some art processes go. Sometimes they take a really long time. Sometimes you really need your mind to like settle in and really think about it. If that is something that's relatable to you guys, if you've been working on something for months at a time, I'd love to know. It's been very hard working on a project that's gone on for this long because my skills have changed, my taste has changed in the span of 3 years. At some point I really need to stop tweaking and just, you know, get on with it, get it out to you guys. So let's go through the back of the tarot card. This is the final artwork that I decided on. It's a bit darker compared to the cover and the side banding of the box. However, because it is going to be such a tiny element on the back of the card, I felt like it was necessary for it to be quite bold, and it was difficult because I'm so used to working on things and making them super detailed, and this one really had to be succinct and bold and just have all the essential information in there. I think with the new light beams around it, especially in the foiling that we're going to get, it's going to look really magical, and for me this is a lot more of an inviting image to get you excited to turn the card around compared to the other one. Let me know what you guys think. Is it an improvement? In my opinion, I feel like it matches the rest of the box a lot more. It doesn't feel so out of place compared to the original line art. Okay. Next up, the banding on the side. I've gotten rid of the flowers and just extended the ends of the wings. Really simple change, but I just feel like now it's got a much more neater flow. So it starts from the center and then tapers off onto the sides, but we're just ruining the flow of it. And lastly, the tweaks that I made to the front cover, I haven't really talked about it all too much in this video, but I just wanted to fix up the girl's face a little bit more. Again, it had been about 10 months or so when I drew the original cover to when I rehashed it, and my skills had just improved a tiny bit more in that time. I really understood how to use my Cintiq and all the brushes in Clip Studio Paint from that point. I just felt like it needed to be cleaned up ever so slightly, and I needed to add just that tiny bit of contrast, so when it does get printed, you have that contrast and it just translates a bit more and it's a bit more bold. All right, you guys, that was such a long video for really ultimately like very little tweaks, but I hope it was interesting for you. If it was, please leave a like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Catch you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.